This coming Saturday in Seattle, there's an all-day hip-hop festival named Palestine Will Live Forever that celebrates the rich tradition of Palestinian hip-hop as it raises money and support for the people of Palestine. And the other day I spoke with the organizers of this festival, Maher Joudi, Gabriel Teodros, and K-Salaam, about how they see the relationship between music and resistance and how tapping into that spirit of hip-hop with this event can help support the Palestinian people and their resistance right now.
Born in Kuwait, family was ethnically cleansed from the city of Lid in Palestine in 1948. Love hip hop, run the music anytime there's a moment of joy or trauma. So feel honored and blessed to be putting something like this together for Palestine. These artists were all handpicked. They have all been speaking for Palestine their whole careers, and there's a consequence to that, fortunately. So giving them a platform where they could shine, feel proud to scream for Palestine is one of the layers. The other is just his resistance through art. Art has always been a reflection of life. You can look back to thinking why in 5th grade I thought NWA was so dope, right? And why there was so much heat on groups like NWA when that came out, and it was always the same. It's a reflection of the life that we're living. So the fact that these artists are out here talking about what's actually happening in Palestine, that we finally have live stream evidence of what's happening in Palestine and people are using their platforms is just dope. So we're just here in service of the people in Gaza and in the West Bank and everybody fighting. We're here to amplify their resistance and be in service of them.
We need to highlight Palestinian voices. We need to humanize Palestinian people. I just think it's as simple as that. And especially when it comes to hip hop and music in general, I don't want this culture, this beautiful culture that was started in New York City by people in a similar situation. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, everybody's different. But I think it's important that we don't let the powers that be take this culture and use it to distract from what's going on.
I think it really speaks to, the Black radical tradition, the legacy of Black resistance to do this movement for Palestinian freedom. And the fact that like so many Palestinian artists have latched on and seen themselves in hip hop speaks to that like natural kinship,
Right.
In our shared struggles and our shared liberation,
Yeah, I think I saw an interview with you before where you said back when you were coming up in the 90s, Gabriel, you started learning about the situation in Palestine from hip hop.
100%. Yeah, for sure. And spoken word. One of the artists who's on this bill, actually, Suhair Hamad, who K-Salaam produced for, she was absolutely like my first teacher in Palestine, and it was a book that she released in the 90s called Born Palestinian, Born Black. If it wasn't for her standing in all of her complexity and saying that none of this contradicts, she modeled what that looks like for me as an Ethiopian American hip hop artist in a Black neighborhood, to stand in all of my complexity and to tell all of my story and know that none of it contradicts. You know what I mean? So I don't even know if I get to be the same artist I am without this Palestinian sister named Suhair Hamad, And then going years into the future when I started learning about like artists like Damn and Slingshot hip hop, and just seeing what hip hop has come to mean to people in Palestine, it exemplifies like hip hop as a tool for resistance almost more than any other place that I've seen.
In the streets, there's a huge family feeling between the Black and Palestinian movement. And I can't speak for either because I'm neither, but you see in the streets that with Black and in the Palestinian movement, it's like this. Now, when it comes to mainstream, it doesn't look like that, but really on the root, it is. There's a strong connection, and none of this mainstream stuff is gonna kill it at this point. It's just the information is out there,
Yeah, I feel like we've really turned a corner, and it's obviously bittersweet because it's been at such a terrible cost, but I feel like we've turned a corner, especially for younger generations, where there's more clarity than there's ever been. There's less fear for speaking out about it. I think that dam has been broken in a way that you're not going to be able to put back together now, I hope.
Nah.
I mean, the dam has been broken, man, but it's a veil of safety, I'd say. I mean, we're not that far removed from the 3 brothers in Vermont getting shot for wearing a kufiya. When this all started, the 6-year-old little boy in Illinois that got stabbed by his neighbor. Like, my mom my parents are survivors of the Nakba in 1948. My dad was 7 years old. My mom was 2. They see everything that I'm doing and they're scared out of their mind. Every time I leave the house, they ask me, do you feel like this is making a difference? Why are you putting yourself in these situations? You have kids, you have a wife. What happens if something happens to you? Like we feel like we're free, but I don't want to diminish the fact that even though these white kids are talking about it, they still walk away from a protest and they're white kids. Like I walk away from a protest and I'm still the Palestinian in a scarf walking away from that protest. So shit ain't sweet yet. Like, you know, I'm hoping we're getting there. I mean, it feels different than it ever has in history for being a Palestinian. It feels like the world is mobilized, but they're still out here gaslighting. They're still out here telling these lies, and we got presidential candidates propagating lies that have been debunked since October 7th. That puts all of us in danger.
Absolutely.
So we're out here speaking, we're saying what we got to say, but we're still moving careful. We're still watching, heads on a swivel all the time, man. But if we don't ride the momentum that we got right now, we'll never get free. Like this is it. This is the moment.
I think that's a really important, powerful perspective. And I think that goes to show why the way y'all are going about putting this event together is important in terms of putting Palestinian voices front and center, and then also standing alongside and building on that with them.
And I do want to speak just on the sorry, Kay, on the solidarity between the Palestinian and Black movements. There's a reason why there was videos coming out of Gaza, even though those children and those teenagers were under siege, when all the shit popped off at Ferguson, that there were signs that said, "I stand with Ferguson." Those were one of the first international communities that popped up that said that we stand with Baltimore and we stand with the Black liberation struggle. So there's a reason that tie is eternal. Regardless of what bullshit you hear in the media today about what this and that, like that tie is eternal because it's the same struggle. And until we all get free, none of us get free. And I think that's most seen in the way that Palestinians react to the Black struggle and the way that Black folks react to the Palestinian struggle. We see ourselves in each other.
There's people who are making a bad faith effort to try to portray it otherwise, but we all saw the murals for George Floyd in the West Bank and in Gaza. And on the other side, like any student of our history remembers Malcolm X, Kwame Ture speaking on what's going on over there.
Nelson Mandela.
Yeah.
Angela Davis, Huey Newton as well, visiting the refugee camps in Lebanon with the Black Panthers. And that affiliation has always been there. I'm glad that it's coming out.
That's real. I also want to say, though, that as much as like that history of solidarity is there, right now, like it's life or death. Also with Black folks in America, you know what I mean? Because everything that's happening in Palestine can happen over here. You know what I mean? The IDF is training United States police officers. The cop cities that are popping up all over the country are based off things that are happening to Palestinian people. Like fighting for Palestinian liberation is absolutely, I feel like, a part of fighting for Black liberation. The same way our oppressors are linked up, like our liberation is bound together.
Yeah, can y'all build a little more on that, on what the relationship is or ought to be between creative expression and direct organizing and activist work?
I think they go hand in hand. I think those two things, I think the expression is our resistance. All these artists, they're not watering it down. They're telling you exactly how it is. And I think that courage that they show, I think leads people to look and say, yo, if he could do it, I could do it. If she could do it, I could do it.
That's a great answer. I would just add to that creative expression, man, it means so much, right? Because, well, one, I think music and food are two of the biggest unifiers that bring people together. And music, creative expression, however you want to say it, is one of those things that brings people together that might not see that they have something in common. And when you bring them together under a shared story or a shared experience, they start seeing what they have in common and they can really build something that changes. You know, Nina Simone said, an artist should reflect the times. And I agree with that. And that's true. But I also feel like artists have the power to reflect what could be. Like we're able to show people what's possible. You know what I mean? And in a sense, like inform somebody's imagination, you know, what freedom really looks like. And once you give enough people that, you know, that inspiration of what freedom can look like, smell like, taste like, all the things, and you have all the people there in that room, like you can really make some real world things happen. So
tell us about some of the people and different forms of representation we could see.
The artists at the show. We got Suhair Hamad, we got Mahmoud Abdul Rauf, the legendary baller and activist. I was so happy when he agreed to doing that. Macklemore, MC Abdul. We have a bunch of dope Palestinian rappers. Wahib Nassan, A-Rob, Sammy Shablak. Shiblak, my bad. Desiree Dawson.
Zayn is her first U.S. appearance ever. Man, there's a lot.
Sammer.
Nikita Oliver. Sammer.
I do want to say that it is beyond just music. I mean, the music is there because we resist through art, but there is specific messaging. The messaging is guided from something called the Thawabit, which is the guiding principles of Palestinian resistance. And those guiding principles are the right of resistance, the right to return, Jerusalem being the capital of Palestine, and the right to self-determination. When we started putting together what message we were trying to portray, we wanted to educate, organize, and then through that education and organization, show our resistance. So those guiding principles are what guide us in the way that we speak. They guide us in the way that we move. And this show is no different. We're not out here to party. There's a genocide happening. We're out here to raise awareness, to raise money, to ride the momentum of what an event like this does and organize through it to make sure that we continue the movement and continue the resistance.